Hey, guys, me, it's John from Player vs. Player. You know what time it is? Well, of course you know what time it is. Time for another Infobyte, where we're going to give you big news in small bites. It's another themed week, so not going to lie, a lot of Sony stuff, but we got a little bit of something else in there as well, so we'll keep it right. But anyway, guys, let's cut to the chase and let's get to it. And our first article, guys, our first Sony article, may I add, is a follow-up from the previous report that we gave you about the closure of the PSP and the PS3 stores closing. That has been a big, massive 180 on the part of Sony, as it's now changed it so that they're no longer closing the PSP and the PS3 stores. Now, I need to clarify here, it's the PSP Vita. The normal one will close, but the Vita is going to be remained open. But this is a welcome change, Mystere, from everyone, as the closure was quite a shock to a lot of people, as you can probably imagine. However, this is the biggest win of all for indie developers. So I may have glossed over some of the actual points last time we're reporting this here, and this is me having to say sorry and trying to fill you in a little bit more on the impact of this here. But the PSP is actually quite a haven for indie projects and indie games, and with this news coming that there was going to be a closure to the store, it actually resulted in a lot of the indie developers who work on PSP Vita games specifically for their platforms, as one is their chosen platforms, sorry, because they also can release on PC as well, but ended up resulting in some projects ended up trying to be rushed, put through massive crunch to get past and get processed before the actual closure that was meant to happen in July, or some projects altogether being shut down. Thankfully, this is not going to have to be the case anymore, as we're going to have the ability to put more software onto the platform. The stores are going to remain open, which means these indie developers no longer have to either cancel their games or put themselves for an unbelievably terrible crunch period, which is a massive win for these developers, as you can imagine. If anyone knows anything about game crunch, it often actually leads to a game coming out worse upon its release, rather than getting the game done faster. It's one of the things why we, Player vs. Player, don't advocate for crunch. We hate the idea when we hear studios being done for crunching, but you know, sometimes it's not up to the developers directly, sometimes it's their publishers that put these mandates on them. However, with these indie devs, it would have been a self-mandated crunch, and it's just good to see that this doesn't have to happen anymore, and any projects that were cancelled do get to be released going forward, and there's no concerns there. Again, this is another big, massive win for the consumers as well, because it means that you as a consumer are going to be able to get more longevity out of your platforms, be it the PS3 or the PSP Vita. And it means you get to experience these games as well. If you are into indie games and you want something that is handheld, or maybe you want to use that PSP Vita handheld more, or even pick one up cheap on eBay. They're not that expensive anymore. I know they're probably, if I remember correctly, not in current production, so you might have to pay a little bit of a surplus charge if they become a bit more rare. But it is an avenue for you as a consumer to then consume these games. Obviously, it's a big win for Sony, and I don't think a lot of people have really realized this is a win for Sony, because if there is these games being sold on these platforms, I mean, yeah, the infrastructure is not great on these platforms in general, and it's been cited as one of the reasons why the PSN store and the PSN structure have been kind of meh, because it has to bridge between all of these separate consoles. But at the end of the day, if they're making money off these game sales, it's another win for Sony as well. I don't imagine there's much server overhead costs to keep these versions of the stores running on these platforms. I could be wrong, but for me, it seems like it could be a massive win for Sony as well, which is probably not being seen or suggested or even talked about. But you know what you gotta do. You gotta let me know down in the chat. Are you happy about this 180 change on the steer, and are you maybe going to consider maybe picking up one of these PSP Vitas, or even maybe you still play your games on your PS3 and buy against your PS3? Sound off in the comments down below and let us know, guys. It'd be really interesting to hear. We're going to break it up a little bit for the second one. So instead of going into our other Sony article, which we'll get into in a little minute, guys, we're going to talk about Netflix here. So Netflix has been doing that thing where I think you all have been doing it. I know I have been doing it, but the practice of sharing passwords, you know, many users are known to do this here to try and reduce the cost, because there's so many streaming platforms these days, and there's so many people that are buying into them, and the costs are running up. And to watch all the content you want to watch, you have to have like 4 or 5 different subscription services these days. However, Netflix have been aware of this here, and the company was running some tests back in March and sending out some emails to customers upon logging in to verify their account. This caused some backlash online because obviously this then was interpreted as that Netflix were trying to crack down on the password sharing process that's probably done by a lot of users. I say probably done. We all know it's done regularly by users. But this was done as part of a test in March, and it caused quite a bit of backlash online, as you could probably imagine, because it was a sudden change of how the service was going to be used going forward, or how they were going to implement certain features of the service going forward. This then prompted the CEO, Reed Hastings, to come across and say that they're looking into solutions that make sense for the customers, and it has many features per year, and that they're not going to be rolling out something that feels like it's turning the screws on its users. But regardless of how you look at it, guys, we might be seeing a massive evolution and change to how Netflix is going to be handling their subscription models. For someone like myself, I will admit to it right now, I do share my Netflix password with friends and family because there is so much costs with these subscription services. And I personally wouldn't be happy if they started cracking down on this here, if they do end up doing this, because at the end of the day, I don't want to receive an email, because the email did include the specific message: if you do not live with the account owner, you need to get your own account to keep watching. I don't know. This is, for me, this doesn't seem like a really great PR move by Netflix, and I know that they're trying to increase the profitability of their service to put more money into, you know, exclusive and original features, but I don't think this is the way it should be done. Obviously, we're going to keep an eye on this and let you know how it goes, but I've got to ask the question, guys. Are you like myself? Are you sharing your password on Netflix or any other subscription service, mind you? Or are you one of the people that gets a password shared to you? And if they do bring this change in and you have to get your own password, is it something that you will end up then considering buying into Netflix? Or even if you are someone who pays for Netflix right now, is it something that if they do change this model, that it'll make you reconsider your adoption to the service in general? Again, let us know in the comments down below, guys, and we'll take it from there. And finally, guys, it's our last Sony news article for the week, and the last Infobyte for you for this week as well. But this is an interesting one. There's been some very tasteful leaks on the Polish side of the PlayStation services. VGC spotted a landing page for a new PlayStation service called the PlayStation Plus Video Pass. We got the screenshot here up on screen, guys, but it's in Polish, so obviously some of the information is going to be a little bit hard for people to read here, and not native Polish speakers or no Polish. But the key information says is that the service was going to run on a trial service between the 22nd of April 2021 to the 22nd of April 2022. This looked to be sort of a additional service on top of the PSN Plus model, but at the time of this recording, it's not been formally launched, and it could be launched by the time you're reading this or seeing this, guys. However, the actual announcement was then taken down quite abruptly after it went live. The assumption here is that it was actually sent out ahead of schedule. And based on the information we know, we're not currently sure if this update is going to be a Polish exclusive or regional exclusive. Maybe these services could be regional exclusive depending on your market. However, it is something that looks like it's being added to the PS Plus service. Speculation has come into play to think that this could be a means to try and help Sony compete with the Xbox Game Pass service, as the Xbox Game Pass service is providing more and more value to its consumers and owners of its consoles, and this could be a method in which Sony use their massive movie library to try and provide an additional benefit to those who are already part of the PlayStation Plus service. Obviously, we are going to keep an eye on this, guys. It is unknown if this again is going to be regional. It's unknown if this is going to only last for the year. However, we did notice in the screenshot that the actual movies themselves seem to be Sony exclusive movies. And this does come off the back of the recent deal that was announced in partnership with Netflix, where the Sony movies were going to come to the Netflix platform. So it's interesting to see how this will work. Obviously, as we know with more information, find out more information, we're going to let you know. We'll always keep you in the know in that regard and follow up like we did with our previous Sony story. However, I do got to ask, does this additional service being added to the PSN potentially is a nice make good for the service itself, not competing as well with the Xbox game service? Or if you are a Sony PlayStation Plus consumer / user, would you rather see more game related content and more free games or more access to games as part of the service, much like the Xbox Game Pass? Again, I want you to let me know below, the player guys, in the comments if you don't mind. That'd be great. Oh, and just like that, we're done a massive info bite. Oh, those big news and small bites are coming at you hard this week. Sony special, I guess it happens sometimes. We had a big Cyberpunk week a few weeks ago. Obviously, we are going to be keeping on top of some of the information as we go on. Obviously, there has been updates, and you saw with the first story, we have been making sure that we bring any sort of key critical updates that we think would make sense to you forward in future videos. However, guys, if it may be the case that we missed a news article this week that you think was important, why don't you let us know below, the player? Is there something you would like to see us discuss, or something we could have missed that you thought was a bigger news story? Always good to discuss in the comments down below. Of course, though, if you have enjoyed the video, as always, we're going to ask you to hit the like button. We want you to smash the stuff out of the subscribe button, and hopefully you will see on the comments section down below, guys. Obviously, if you want to hang out with myself and Mr. Cosmic Bacon live as we discuss these matters, you can always check us out on twitch.tv/itspvg for the Player versus Player talk show. That's every Friday night at 8 o'clock UK time. You should check us out. We're having a ball. We're having a lot of fun. We have skippable cutscene, people winning prizes per season and everything. It's great. But anyway, I gotta love yous. Gotta leave yous, but of course, guys, if I'm really lucky, I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Peace.